Hi everybody. Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I am in Eastern Europe, so it is morning here. And you'll have to excuse me. I'm actually on bed rest, doctor's orders. So forgive me if I'm not really sitting up. But God is still good. He's worthy to be praised, and He is just amazing in all the ways He works. I just wanted to come on here and um, address some things that have been on my mind. Um, you know, I'm not on mainstream social media. Well, okay, maybe I am a little bit because I'm on YouTube. Um, but I mean, as far as like, Facebook or Twitter and things of that nature, I'm no longer really on those social media platforms anymore. But I am on one. I'm on one that's not like really popular, but it's been a blessing. I've met some really um, kind people there, people who seem to love the Lord, um, and it's been a blessing. But you still get the same, type of mixture on there, kind of like the Facebook crowd. I think it's to me it seems a little bit less toxic than Facebook, in my opinion. At least it's been my experience. But anyway, I think I digress a little bit. But um, one thing I've noticed, with social media comes a diverse array of understandings and opinions, and different levels of revelation. And so I'm in a couple of little groups on this small social media platform. And I've noticed lately, um and it's not just lately. I don't want to say, oh yeah, it's this is something that's new. I mean, as most of you I'm sure are aware, especially coming from the West, which is obviously where I'm from. I'm not from Eastern Europe. Um, and especially if you're from the United States, which is where I'm from. There's a lot of talk about, or preoccupation with, the current administration, the current politics, and even amongst professing Christians. And I was in prayer this morning about it because it's just been something that's sort of been kind of on my mind, and to be honest, something that's kind of bothered me a little bit is people's preoccupation with um, the governments and the systems of this world, and especially in light of the whole coronavirus thing, which like I said, I'm not really gonna get into much of that. I don't like to um, share too much of my opinion on the matter, because in the end it really doesn't matter what my opinion or what your opinion is. It's ultimately what His will is, and that's kind of what I want to touch on in this video. I see so many people who are preoccupied with what's going on in the world and what's going on in politics and how this election was stolen, and coronavirus this and coronavirus that, and I lost my job this, and don't get me wrong, these things are not insignificant. I live in this world too. I am touched by the effects and the decisions of certain politicians. I mean, even in Belarus, there's a lot of political drama going on here. But this is the thing. Do we really trust God? Do we really, a people that are called by his name, do we really trust the Lord? Do we honestly really trust him to take the throne in our hearts? And I sit there and I ask this of myself as well. Like I'm like, admittedly, there are times when I'll catch myself thinking, well, what if this happens? I'll catch my mind drifting. Like, what if, this happens? And like, especially in my current situation, with having some various issues with my body, um, that have um, caused me to have to rest a little bit more. Um, don't worry, I'm not dying or anything. It's not that bad. It's just, I'm taking the doctor's orders and I'm doing, I'm just taking this precaution. So, anyway, um back to what I was back on topic. Um yeah, it's just it's my mind will drift, and like every once in a while, and I'll have to take those thoughts captive, like the Bible says we have to take every thought captive unto the obedience of Christ. um uh but honestly, like, what are we trusting in, guys? Like, I mean, bad things are going to happen, they're only going to get worse. But do we believe that God knows everything? Do we believe that God is omnipresent, and omniscient? Do we really believe that? Like, do we really take the time to think about what that means? Like, do we really, trust him? Because if we're in fear and we're in panic about what's going to happen on the earth, I mean, let's just face it, okay? Even though things are getting harder in the world, and the walls are kind of slowly starting to close in, or not so slowly, depending on how you look at it. Um, do we really believe that God is in control of all of this? He knows, and not a hair of our head is gonna fall on the ground without him knowing. I mean, the world looks at us, and they see a people that is bound by fear and anger and frustration. What kind of message does that send to the lost world? What kind of hope do we offer when we're a people that say, yeah, Christ is all sufficient, Christ is, all knowing, and he is sovereign, and all that jargon that they parrot in sermons. And I sit back and I wonder to myself, do half of these people even believe what they say? Do we really believe what we say? Or are we just parroting, secondhand knowledge? Or are we reading, and watching sermons and obtaining all, the Bible talks about a people that are, constantly like studying and studying and never coming to the knowledge, the actual knowledge. It's one thing to intellectualize the truth. It's another thing when the truth penetrates your heart and you're living it out. And I see so much of this, like, like on especially on social media. Everybody likes to be heard. Everybody likes to, make sure that, like, oh, I want people to know how smart and intellectual I am and how much Bible knowledge I've obtained. And it's like, who cares? I don't give two rips how much Bible knowledge you know. Do you know it in your heart? Can you honestly tell me that you're not bound in fear? Can you honestly tell me that when things get worse in your life, you're not going to cower and you're not going to fold and be like the children in the wilderness who perished because they ultimately did not trust God? And that's the ultimate question you have to ask yourself is, what are you placing your trust in? I mean, honestly, my situation, it's not 100% certain. I don't know, what's going to happen day in and day out, I mean, but it's like, no matter what, I have to trust God. I have to be true and every man a liar, you know, but seriously, ask yourself, what are you trusting in? You know, fear is not the fruit of trust. Anger is not the fruit of trust. Getting all bent out of shape is not the fruit of trust.